The Exodus. Captain Maya Chen stood at the viewport of the ESS Tenacity, Earth's diplomatic flagship, watching the sprawling space station that housed the Galactic Consortium. The massive structure orbited the neutral world of Centaurus Prime, its crystalline spires glittering against the backdrop of stars. For 2 centuries, humans had walked those halls as junior members, always fighting for a voice. Today that would end. Final preparations complete, Captain, reported Commander Jackson, her XO. All human diplomatic staff are aboard their respective vessels. We await only your signal. Maya nodded, her dark eyes never leaving the station. At 45, she had spent over 20 years representing Earth's interests among the stars. 20 years of watching innovation suppressed, expansion limited, and human potential stifled by species who had been spacefaring when humans were still figuring out agriculture. Status of the transmission system, she asked. Ready, Captain. Secretary General Okafor is standing by to address the full Consortium Council. Maya checked her timepiece. Begin the operation. Across the Consortium's territory, human ships simultaneously initiated disengagement protocols. Mining vessels abandoned resource-rich asteroids. Research stations powered down their equipment. Defense vessels withdrew from patrol routes. The coordinated exodus had been planned for years, implemented with precision that would have impressed even the methodical Taurans. In the Grand Council chamber, representatives from over 300 species fell silent as the holographic image of Secretary General Adana Okafor appeared at the central podium. The elegant Nigerian woman who led Earth's government stared out at the assembly with calm determination. Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Consortium, she began, her voice resonating through the chamber. For 2 centuries, humanity has participated in this alliance, contributing our innovation, labor, and military strength while receiving little voice in return. We have watched as our technologies were restricted, our colonies limited, and our potential constrained, all under the guise of maintaining galactic stability. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Valdari representative, a tall, willowy being with iridescent skin, rose from his seat. Secretary General, if there are specific grievances to be addressed. The time for addressing grievances has passed, High Counselor Zirith. Okafor interrupted. The unified Earth government hereby announces its formal withdrawal from the Galactic Consortium, effective immediately. Chaos erupted in the chamber. The Protectorate species, the founding members who controlled the Consortium's direction, conferred urgently among themselves. The Taurans, with their 4-armed, bovine bodies, stomped their hooves in agitation. The insectoid Vreen clicked their mandibles rapidly, a sign of alarm. High Counselor Zirith raised all 4 of his arms, calling for order. Secretary General Okafor, surely this is an extreme reaction. Whatever concerns Earth has, our concerns have been documented in over 3,000 formal petitions over the past century alone, Okafor replied. All systematically ignored or dismissed. Our decision is final. On the Consortium administrative level, Nalith, the Protectorate's head administrator, watched the proceedings with his large compound eyes. The slender, green-skinned alien turned to his assistant. A theatrical gesture, he said dismissively. Humans are impulsive creatures. They will return within a standard cycle when they realize how dependent they are on Consortium resources and protection. His assistant, Merrick's, wasn't so sure. Sir, our intelligence indicates this has been planned for years. They'd been systematically reducing dependencies and stockpiling resources. Nonsense, Nalith waved a spindly hand. No single species can function independently in the modern galaxy, especially not one as young as the humans. Back on the Tenacity, Maya watched the feeds from around Consortium space as human vessels disengaged from stations, outposts, and facilities. Centuries of integration were being undone in hours. Captain, her communications officer called. We're receiving urgent requests from 37 Consortium facilities. They're demanding our personnel remain to complete critical maintenance cycles. Maya allowed herself a small smile. Inform them that all maintenance schedules and procedures have been uploaded to their central systems, as required by our exit protocols. But, Captain, many of these systems have never been maintained by non-human technicians. That is no longer our concern, Lieutenant. Commander Jackson approached with a datapad. Engineering has disconnected our systems from the consortium network. All proprietary human technology has been secured or wiped according to protocol. Throughout consortium space, the initial confusion was turning to concern. On the mining world of Kara's IV, Overseer Duval watched in disbelief as the human engineering teams boarded their transports. "You cannot simply leave," he protested, his rock-like features cracking with stress lines. "The deep shaft systems require your maintenance cycles." The human supervisor merely handed him a data chip. "All procedures are documented here, Overseer. Your own engineers should be able to handle it." But as the human ships departed, Duval knew the truth. The Carasi had never bothered to learn the intricacies of the human-designed mining systems. They had always relied on the supposedly inferior humans to handle the menial technical work. Similar scenes played out across hundreds of worlds. Communication relays, atmospheric processors, defense grids, countless systems that had silently been maintained by human technicians were suddenly left without their specialized caretakers. On the consortium capital world, Nalith received the first reports of system failures with growing alarm. A water purification plant on Mira II had shut down, threatening millions. A defense grid protecting the Shalari colonies had gone offline. 3 deep space communication relays had stopped transmitting. "How is this possible?" he demanded. "These are consortium technologies." Merrick's hesitated before answering. "Sir, while the designs are officially consortium property, many systems have been exclusively maintained by humans for generations. It seems they developed undocumented specializations. In Earth's solar system, the human fleet regrouped. Massive colony ships that had been secretly constructed in the outer system joined the formation. Maya watched from the Tenacity's bridge as the greatest assemblage of human vessels in history prepared to depart for regions beyond consortium control. "Captain," reported her sensor officer, "we're detecting multiple consortium vessels approaching." "Military configuration." Maya nodded calmly. "As expected. Open a channel." The stern face of Admiral Care of the Tauran Defense Force appeared on screen. "Captain Chen, you are ordered to halt your withdrawal immediately. This unauthorized departure constitutes a breach of consortium security protocols." Maya met his four-eyed gaze steadily. "Admiral, Earth is no longer bound by consortium protocols. We have exercised our sovereign right to withdraw from a voluntary association. Your departure threatens critical infrastructure across multiple sectors," Skara growled. "The Consortium Council has authorized me to prevent this irresponsible action." Maya's expression didn't change, but her voice took on a steely quality. "Admiral, I strongly advise against any hostile action. While the Consortium has always underestimated human military capabilities, I assure you, today is not the day to test them." Before Zikar could respond, Maya signaled her tactical officer. Across the solar system, hidden defense platforms suddenly revealed themselves, their weapons trained on the consortium vessels. The Tauran admiral's eyes widened as his sensors detected the previously hidden firepower. This is impossible," he stammered. "These weapons signatures exceed registered human technology levels by several generations." "The consortium has only ever seen what we allowed it to see, Admiral," Maya replied. "Now you will maintain your position while our fleet departs, or you will witness capabilities that the Protectorate has spent 2 centuries suppressing." As the human fleet engaged their drives and disappeared into the darkness beyond the heliopause, they left behind a consortium that didn't yet understand what it had lost. The first domino had fallen. The galaxy was about to learn just how central humans had become to its functioning, and how deliberately the Protectorate had hidden that fact from everyone, including themselves. The Reckoning. 6 months after humanity's departure from the Galactic Consortium, High Counselor Zirith stood in the Emergency Command Center beneath the Council chamber, surrounded by holographic displays showing cascading failures across consortium space. His normally iridescent skin had dulled to a sickly gray, a sign of extreme stress in Valdari physiology. Another trade hub has gone offline, reported a harried Vreen analyst, mandibles clicking rapidly. That's the fourth this cycle. Supply chains in the Orion sector are completely disrupted. What about the engineering teams we sent? Zirith demanded. The analyst's antennae drooped. They report the systems are incomprehensible. High Counselor. The human maintenance crews apparently implemented countless undocumented modifications over the decades. The baseline schematics are useless. Across the room, Head Administrator Nalith was engaged in a heated argument with representatives from the Merchant Guild. Once dismissive of the human exodus, Nalith now looked haggard and desperate. "We cannot simply produce more," he was saying, his voice shrill. The manufacturing processes relied on human-designed assembly systems they apparently built with deliberate obsolescence cycles that only they knew how to reset. In the Cygnus arm of the galaxy, Captain Trell of the consortium patrol vessel Guardian drifted helplessly in space, life support systems failing as his ship's power core sputtered and died. 3 days earlier, they had engaged a pirate fleet raiding the once secure shipping lanes. Pirates that would never have dared enter this sector when human defense vessels patrolled it. "Send the distress call again," Trell ordered, though he held little hope. Communication relays in this sector had been deteriorating for months. His second-in-command, a young Shalari, looked up from her console with large, fearful eyes. "Captain, I've analyzed the attack pattern. The pirates knew exactly when our defensive systems would require recalibration." Trell's scaled skin paled. "That's classified information." "It was," she corrected. "But it seems the humans who designed our defense cycle protocols took that knowledge with them." On Earth, Maya Chen, now Admiral of the Independent Human Fleet, stood in the newly constructed Defense Command beneath the Himalayan mountains. Around her, staff monitored the deteriorating situation in consortium space. "The Draconis sector has gone dark," reported her intelligence chief. "The communication relay network has completely collapsed. 3 billion sentients are now cut off from the rest of the consortium." Maya nodded grimly. "And the refugee situation?" "Growing, Admiral. We've received asylum requests from 27 species, mostly from the younger members who joined the consortium after us. They're fleeing as systems fail and the Protectorate proves unable to maintain basic services." The door to the command center slid open, admitting Secretary General Okafor and Admiral Jackson, Maya's former XO. "The consortium diplomatic vessel has entered the solar system," Jackson announced. "High Counselor Zirith himself is leading the delegation." Okafor's expression remained composed, but Maya detected a hint of satisfaction in her eyes. "Right on schedule. It appears 6 months of crisis has accomplished what 2 centuries of petitions could not." In high orbit above Earth, the ornate consortium diplomatic vessel Harmonious Accord drifted under the watchful eyes of human defense platforms. Inside, High Counselor Zirith prepared to face the humans he had dismissed for so long. "Remember," he instructed his delegation, "we must not appear desperate, regardless of the reality. The consortium has existed for millennia before humans. We are offering them a generous opportunity to return to the fold." His senior advisor, a veteran Tauran diplomat, looked skeptical. "With all due respect, High Counselor, I don't believe that approach will be effective. Our intelligence suggests the humans were well aware of how essential they had become to our infrastructure. This entire departure appears to have been calculated to demonstrate that dependency." Zirith's skin flushed with angry colors. "Impossible. How could they have known? The Protectorate carefully controlled information about their role in our systems." The Tauran's 4 eyes blinked in sequence, a gesture of ironic amusement. "Yet somehow, they knew exactly which systems would fail without their maintenance, and precisely when. Perhaps we were not as clever as we believed." The diplomatic conference took place in Earth's newly constructed Unity Hall in Geneva. Maya stood at attention as the consortium delegation entered, noting the barely concealed shock on their faces as they saw the advanced technology openly displayed. Technology that far exceeded what the consortium had permitted humans to develop. Secretary General Okafor entered last, taking her position at the head of Earth's delegation. High Counselor Zirith, welcome to Earth. I trust your journey was uneventful. The Valdari diplomat inclined his head stiffly. Relatively so, though I must note that numerous navigation beacons appear to be malfunctioning along established routes. How unfortunate, Okafor replied, not bothering to hide her lack of sympathy. Now shall we discuss the purpose of your visit? I believe you mentioned an urgent matter of mutual concern in your request for this meeting. Zirith straightened to his full height, nearly 3 meters tall. The Galactic Consortium wishes to address the humanitarian crisis that has developed following Earth's impulsive departure from our alliance. Millions of beings across multiple sectors are suffering due to infrastructure failures. Interesting, Okafor said. And why bring this to us? Surely the mighty consortium, with its millennia of experience and vast resources, can handle such problems internally. Before Zirith could form a diplomatic response, alarms blared throughout the building. Maya's communicator activated automatically. Admiral, came an urgent voice. We're detecting multiple unauthorized transits at the edge of the system. Configuration matches Drexian raider vessels. The Drexians, a predatory species long contained by consortium border forces, had apparently noticed the power vacuum as well. Maya looked to Okafor, who nodded slightly. Turning to the central display, Maya issued clear commands. Activate Defense Grid Zeus. Deploy rapid response teams to intercept coordinates. The room's displays showed what happened next. Hidden defense platforms throughout the solar system activated simultaneously. Vessels that had been invisible to sensors suddenly appeared, moving with impossible speed. The Drexian raiders, expecting an easy target, found themselves surrounded, outgunned, and outmaneuvered. The entire encounter lasted less than 5 minutes. No shots were fired. The raiders, faced with overwhelming force, retreated into the darkness they had emerged from. High Counselor Zirith stared at the displays in undisguised shock. Those vessels, that technology, it exceeds even Protectorate military capabilities. Yes, Okafor said simply. It does. Did you really believe we spent 2 centuries showing you everything we could do? Understanding dawned on Zirith's face. The consortium containment protocols. They weren't protecting the galaxy from human recklessness. They were protecting the Protectorate's position of power. Okafor finished for him, by keeping humanity's true potential hidden, even from most of our own people. In the days that followed, the negotiations took on a very different tone. The consortium representatives, stripped of their illusions of superiority, were forced to confront a new reality. Humanity had not left because they couldn't survive without the consortium. They had left because the consortium couldn't survive without them. As the diplomatic talks progressed, more vessels arrived in Earth's solar system. Not consortium ships, but representatives from dozens of younger species, the junior members who had always been relegated to secondary status by the Protectorate races. We seek alliance with Earth, announced the Rigelian ambassador, her translucent form shimmering with determination. The consortium has proven itself incapable of maintaining the systems our people depend on. Similar declarations came from the Tausetians, the Proteans, and many others. Within weeks, what had begun as a simple withdrawal had evolved into the formation of a new galactic alliance, one based on cooperation rather than hierarchy. In his private quarters aboard the Harmonious Accord, High Counselor Zirith faced the subspace communication with the Protectorate Council with dread. The humans refuse to return on our terms, he reported. In fact, they are not interested in returning at all. They are establishing their own alliance with many of our junior members. This is outrageous, bellowed the Tauran Protector. They cannot simply create a rival to the consortium. I don't believe we can stop them, Zirith replied, his skin dull with resignation. Their technological capabilities far exceed our intelligence estimates, and they have something we critically lack: the knowledge to maintain the infrastructure our civilization depends on. Then we must take that knowledge, hissed the Vreen protector, by force if necessary. Zareth shook his head. A military solution is inadvisable. We have seen only glimpses of their defensive capabilities, but those glimpses suggest any aggressive action would be disastrous for our forces. 1 month later, representatives from both the human-led alliance and a galactic consortium met on neutral territory, a small space station orbiting the binary stars of Alpha Centauri. The negotiations were not about reunification, but coexistence. Maya Chen, now serving as defense minister for the newly formed alliance, watched as Secretary General Okafor outlined the terms: open exchange of technology, free movement of peoples between territories, and most importantly, an end to the hierarchical structure that had placed the protectorate species above all others. The galaxy stands at a crossroads, Okafor told the assembled representatives. The old order is ending. We can embrace a new era of true cooperation, or we can watch as more systems fail and more people suffer. High Counselor Zareth, humbled by months of crisis and the fracturing of the once mighty consortium, had no choice but to agree. As the historic accords were signed, Maya stood at the viewport, gazing at the twin suns of humanity's nearest stellar neighbors. 2 centuries of being underestimated and controlled had ended, not through warfare or conquest, but through the simple act of walking away and allowing the consequences to unfold naturally. Sometimes, she reflected, the most powerful statement wasn't what you did, but what you stopped doing. Humanity had stopped pretending to be less than they were. They had stopped accepting limitations imposed by others. They had stopped maintaining systems designed to keep them subordinate. And in doing so, they had changed the galaxy forever. Across alliance and consortium space alike, beings of hundreds of species looked to the future with new understanding. In the grand cosmic community, every voice mattered, every contribution was valuable, and no one, not even humans, should ever be taken for granted again.